What's up with the squad? Back with another video. Y'all seen the title was going down. Make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it in the title. So, y'all see it. It says right here, calls for Governor Walz resignation explode as billions in new fraud are exposed. I'm telling y'all. It says listen to the people, Tim. Get out. You failed, which a lot of people are seeing. Let's check it out.
You know, it's interesting. He's made quite a few maneuvers that are questionable, I would say, over these last years. Now appointing, I should say, a fraud czar, but he closed at the statewide level an office that investigated fraud for many years. There are questions about that. This has only renewed the call for Governor Tim Walz to resign. He is currently running for a third term as governor, but this has really ramped up under his watch the last 7 years, all of this fraud exploding onto the national scene. I think it's 5 or 6 federal investigations that have now been announced in Minnesota from SNAP, our welfare fraud. The state doesn't want to give that over. Our voter rolls, Minnesota doesn't want to hand that over to the feds. Illegal immigrants having commercial driver's licenses here. In fact, President Trump saying that Walz has turned Minnesota into a fraudulent hub of money laundering activity. Those are the president's words.
Telling y'all, and we all see it. You know, we're seeing it every single day, y'all. We're seeing this every single day, and it's definitely sickening. You got it right here in this interview. Says if more than $1 billion of fraud on the taxpayers' dime wasn't enough, Tim Walz is admitting there is more on the way. Instead of him taking accountability, he is blaming organized crime in Minnesota. One thing about it, as y'all know, true scam artists.
Do you think the worst of the state government fraud cases have been uncovered, or do you have reason to believe there is more to come?
Oh, I think there's more. And look, we've got organized crime ring in Minnesota. I think it's been going on for years.
From Feeding Our Future to autism programs to housing stabilization, Minnesota taxpayers are victims of more than $1 billion of fraud. Do you think there was not enough skepticism for too long in state agencies that were overseeing these programs?
I think it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, I think you need to be more skeptical now in this world. I think the COVID pandemic and the releasing of some of the rules, the relaxing of the rules, fostered this.
On Feeding Our Future, some of it in retrospect seems so obvious. Thousands of children supposedly being fed at these sites that were, it just physically wasn't even possible. Was that a big miss by members of your administration who were supposed to be overseeing that?
I think in retrospect now, if you have the resources, and I think we do have more of those now, yes, it makes sense to just go out there and see if someone's doing this. Go out there and knock on the door, see if they're doing it.
I'm telling y'all, I don't see how. Like, and I'm being, and the crazy thing is that he's wanting to be governor again. I'm telling y'all, he's wanting to be literally, like, I truly do not get it, y'all. Says I'm running for re-election. I won't even play the full thing, but he says he's running for re-election, y'all. Running for re-election. He said, we have made historic progress in our state, but we are not done yet. I'm staying in the fight, and I need you with me. So, obviously, y'all see that he isn't obviously giving up. He is still trying, you know, to, and this is an important thing that I've been talking about, you know, all week, is the simple fact that, all week and all last week, is the simple fact that I want them to find every single thing that they possibly can. I'm talking about every single possible, everything, not just some. I want them to find everything so things can be nipped in the bud. That's how I look at it, you know, when it comes down to Tim Walz. Ilhan Omar too, and we're going to get to Keith Ellison, you know, here in a minute. But one thing about it is that it's definitely sad. This man is known for not taking accountability, which is no surprise. You see it from the left a lot. Says right here, Governor Walz cries weaponization because Trump administration is finally holding radical states accountable. Not threatening them at all. Let's check it out.
On this, look, this is one of, I don't want to say the number, it's countless numbers. Every night I get an update on this of the threats to our federal money on everything we do. Because look, right now it's very clear. The entire federal government is weaponized against Minnesota. And the issues of things that should be states' rights, states to control, they're threatening us with this. And this is what happens when you have a floundering presidency and it is about those ballrooms and everything else. Now we're back on transgender folks, and these are healthcare providers providing the best guidance to parents and children to get their care. So we're assessing what it means. It's on every front. It's CDLs, it's transportation money, it's money across the board that they have weaponized. So.
Definitely sickening, you know, and we constantly see, you know, how bad it is, you know, in Minnesota, how bad it is, you know, that these individuals don't take accountability whatsoever. They truly do not take accountability. It's not hard just to say, you know, obviously it is for Tim Walz. This is my fault. These things are my fault. Here's what you need. They're literally hiding things. The FBI just left out of one of their healthcare service buildings with multiple things. It's I'm telling y'all, it's definitely getting bad. One thing about it, I can't wait till they get all of this, you know, situated. And I know a lot of y'all are wanting to see this individual behind bars. I'll tell you that. Literally have it right here. Tim Walz had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. Exactly. But again, y'all see him running re-election. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend he cares about his constituents' tax dollars, supporting, again, and this is said, you know, multiple times, you know, individuals in Somalia. I have to watch what I say, y'all. Y'all know who those individuals are, you know, that they're supporting, you know, when it comes to, you know, tax dollars. Says our dishonest failed governor will answer for this completely incompetence. Let's check it out.
Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud. Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents' tax dollars supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence.
I'm telling y'all. Say it right there. And y'all obviously see that there's multiple individuals that are disgusted by this. You know, we keep seeing that number. I seen a number today as high as 18 million, y'all. Seen a number today as high as 18. I said that wrong. 18 billion. I'm sorry. I said million. $18 billion, y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's definitely bad, y'all. It's definitely bad. And it gets worse. Don't worry. It definitely gets worse. Definitely gets worse. Says right here, 6 more have been charged in Minnesota after Somali building is raided in massive fraud, you know, to the tune of $9 billion. Which that number, again, I seen earlier was 18 billion. But you have it right here, 9 billion. Says right here, Tim Walz should resign. Let's check it out. Fox News.
Federal prosecutors, Dana, in Minnesota have been warning and still warning that we're looking at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the extent of this fraud in Minnesota. As you mentioned, 6 new indictments and 1 guilty plea were announced yesterday as federal agents executed a search warrant on Ultimate Home Health Services, a Somali-owned home care agency.
Yep.
The new indictment zeroes in on the autism program called Early Intensive Developmental and Behavioral Intervention, or EIDBI, and zeroed in on housing stabilization programs. In the case of the housing stabilization programs, the Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson says defendants claim to provide housing assistance to people with mental illness or drug and alcohol problems, and they say the defendants submitted claims, provided no service. Thompson used the term fraud tourism, claiming 2 men from Philadelphia learned there was easy money in Minnesota, so they flew into the state, set up shop, and started billing the government. As far as defrauding the autism programs, Thompson introduced 1 new case of a defendant recruiting parents, getting bogus documents for a diagnosis of autism for the child. The parents would then get a kickback from the money intended to treat the autistic child.
What we're seeing is programs that are just entirely fraudulent. These aren't companies that are providing some services but overbilling Medicare or Medicaid. These are companies that are providing essentially no services. They're essentially shell companies created to defraud the program, created to submit on a wholesale level.
Now, the housing stabilization program, for one, was created with a prediction it would cost $2.6 million annually. It ballooned to $21 million in 2021 and exploded to $104 million in 2024. All but a handful of the defendants thus far are part of the Minnesota Somali community. Some of the money did leave the U.S. There were real estate purchases in Kenya, to give you one example. But prosecutors say so far they have no evidence that the money funded the terror group Al-Shabaab. Dan?
Well, I'm going to tell y'all one thing for sure that I truly, truly hate, and I dislike a lot, is the simple fact that they are literally sucking all money possible that they possibly can. They possibly can, from, these taxpayers, Americans, and they're sending it back to Somalia, allegedly. And it's definitely disgusting. I know y'all heard me earlier this week, and I talked about how when they get there, they get 7,000. These legal aliens to literally get, $7,000 per person. So they get $7,000 per person, y'all. Definitely insane. They get that, and they start them a business. And then not only that, they get food stamps for that business. I'm telling y'all, I know I've showed this video a couple times, but I want to show y'all this for the simple fact, to get everybody, and this number obviously has changed. It went from, I think, 250 million to 1 billion to 8 billion to 9 billion to 18 billion. This number is constantly changed. This fraud ring you have right here, you have Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and Keith Ellison.
Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison. We see a web of connections between them and those directly involved in the fraud. For example, Ilhan Omar alleged enabling introducing the 2020 Meals Act, which was ultimately subject to fraud. Held a campaign victory party at the Safari restaurant. That's where one of the men who run that restaurant has associations to the convicted individuals. And then there's Tim Walz. House Oversight Investigation role in his role as governor. Or Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. His job is to enforce the law in Minnesota, but instead he's getting donations after meeting with the Feeding Our Future representatives. The Feeding Our Future, the biggest known yet part of this entire fraud. Theft. Ilhan Omar.
So we have it right here. You have Keith Ellison. I want to make sure I have this right. Liz Collin, I'm pretty sure. Liz Collin, Alpha News, says Alpha News takes her questions about fraud to Attorney General Keith Ellison. Watch what that answer was, that he gave y'all.
My name's Liz Collin. I'm with Alpha News. Is Attorney General Ellison available, or anyone in this office, to answer a few questions about fraud in Minnesota?
I can call Press Secretary John Stiles.
Okay.
Or Ryan.
We've just had many of our questions go unanswered personally by the Attorney General, so we were wondering if he'd be willing to answer any questions.
He's not available, first of all. Hi, this is Home, and Liz Collins is our boss. Okay, just one second. Okay, I will tell you that. But the answer is no, you will never have.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Wow.
What?
No, you will not have a meeting.
Ever with the Attorney General?
No,
That's the answer?
No. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm.
It just seems strange that the top law enforcement officer in Minnesota is not willing to answer questions.
The answer is no. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you for trying.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Bye now.
Wow, disgusting. As y'all see, one thing about it is that it's truly sickening. They're not answering. It shows you right there that they have no more answers. They have nothing else to say because they know they're in deep trouble right now. I'm telling y'all, definitely. Even a comment down below this. You got Maine. Third attempt to get a comment from the Mills administration on the Gateway Community Service fraud scandal. I'm telling you, it's getting disgusting everywhere, y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's getting disgusting everywhere. It says right here, Tim Walz, desperate attempt to blame me for his fraud and mismanagement is failing. This is Christian Robbins. This is Minnesota House of Representatives. Says, I will continue to protect whistleblowers and expose Walz fraud and corruption, as y'all know. And if y'all don't, y'all can look it up, about, what Tim Walz, when it comes to Ilhan Omar, especially Tim Walz, trying and doing things, when it comes to these whistleblowers coming out, and having a lot to say, and had a lot to say about this. Check it out.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to that. So we did receive your letter, Inspector General, asking us to share information with you on credible whistleblower reports. And to date, we have not, because there is no trust, as you might understand. This fraud has been perpetuated on your watch, and the whistleblowers who reach out to us within the department are terrified, and they feel that they've been retaliated against already. They feel that they are very afraid. They're afraid to reach out to us. And if they thought we were then turning around and giving it to you, we would not have whistleblowers. So we initiated a whistleblower portal last spring in response to people who were afraid to come to you, and that has received hundreds of tips. Belatedly, you all also put out a whistleblower report portal this fall, which I think hopefully is also generating tips. But when I get credible allegations of fraud from whistleblowers, we meet with them, we interview them, we ferret it out as much as possible. But as you know, legislators do not have access to bank records, health records, subpoena power, the SWIFT payment system that the state uses to pay things. So I can only get an investigation so far. But when we get it, we go to the U.S. Attorney, the FBI, and the Office of Legislative Auditor, who have access to all those records. So our whistleblowers are being protected, and they are also being reviewed for further investigation. And I would like to have a more collaborative relationship with you, but I have to say, if whistleblowers thought we were turning everything over to you, it would stop.
Madam
Well, one thing about it, I know y'all truly agree. With a lot that's going on, is that I feel like individuals, they're definitely not playing. They're truly not playing. When it comes down to it, they're tired of the corruption, they're tired of the fraud, and the threatening. They're tired of a lot of it. And one thing about it is that they're definitely, investigating, definitely gathering a lot of information, that's going on, because it's definitely sickening. Y'all make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Please, and y'all comment down below. I'm trying to get to everybody's comments. Definitely got a busy day. So I definitely apologize. This video obviously had to be done a little early. Got kids, basketball game, as well as, big surprise. Can't really say it right now. But, definitely appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody. Catch y'all next one.